My own sister stood in front of our entire family and announced that I had not paid for a single thing at the birthday dinner I secretly financed. Seconds later, every card she proudly handed the hotel was declined, and the room fell silent. That should have been the end of the humiliation. But it was only the beginning. Within days, hidden bank transfers, stolen credit, a secret speech written to destroy my reputation, and years of family lies started unraveling one document at a time. I am Claire Bennett. And I spent years believing that paying the bills, fixing every crisis, and staying quiet would finally earn me a place in my own family. Instead, it made me the easiest person to sacrifice. The night I stopped paying for everyone else's peace was the night everything they had hidden began to collapse. To understand how it reached that moment, you need to know what happened before we ever sat down at that table. My sister told me not to take too much food because I had not paid for dinner. She said it loudly enough for the people near the buffet to hear, then smiled as if she had offered harmless advice. Take it easy, Claire. Some of us actually paid for this. A few relatives laughed. My mother, Diane, turned toward me from the head table and gave me the tired look she usually saved for moments when she believed I was about to become difficult. Please do not make this awkward, she said. Melissa worked very hard on tonight. My father, Richard, lowered his voice, but not enough to keep the people beside him from hearing. This is your mother's birthday. Do not create a scene. I stood beside the buffet holding a white china plate and looked around the private dining room of the Briarwood Hotel in downtown Nashville. I had chosen the ivory tablecloths because my mother hated bright colors at formal dinners. I had approved the centerpieces, white roses with small branches of eucalyptus. I had selected the lemon chicken, the salmon, the roasted potatoes, and the chocolate cake with raspberry filling. I had hired the photographer. I had created the seating chart. I had signed the contract. The hotel had charged my card $2,250 as a non-refundable reservation payment. The remaining $8,150 was scheduled to be charged at the end of the evening. Melissa knew all of that. She also knew I had asked the hotel not to announce that I was paying. I had wanted the dinner to feel like a gift, not financial performance. Apparently, my silence had created the perfect space for her to step into. I looked down at my plate. For years, I had believed that if I explained myself clearly enough, worked hard enough, or gave a nav, my family would eventually see me, standing in that room. I understood something I should have learned much earlier. If I had to list everything I had done just to prove I deserved a plate of food at my own mother's birthday dinner, the real problem was not the bill. I set the plate on the buffet table. I folded the cloth napkin I was holding and placed it beside it. Melissa tilted her head. Where are you going now? My father leaned forward. Clara. Sit down. I looked at Melissa. You said I did not contribute, so I am going to stop contributing. Her smile disappeared. I walked out before anyone could turn my decision into another family debate. In the hallway, I called Jordan Mills, the hotel's banquet services director. He found me near the elevators with a tablet tucked under one arm. I told him I wanted my card removed as the payment method for the remaining balance. Jordan did not react to the emotion on my face. He stayed professional, which I appreciated more than he probably knew. He reminded me that the $2,250 reservation payment could not be refunded. I understand. He explained that the hotel could remove my card before final settlement. but another adult would need to sign responsibility for the remaining $8,150 if the event continued. I understand that too. He asked whether I wanted the hotel to stop service. No, I do not want anyone embarrassed or asked to leave. I only want my card removed. Jordan studied me for a moment, then nodded. I signed the authorization. Losing $2,250 hurt. That money had been set aside to replace the worn flooring in my living room. It was not an amount I could casually forget. Still, I felt calmer after I signed than I had felt inside the dining room. Jordan returned to the party while I stayed in the hallway. Through the open doors, I heard him explain that the original payment method had been withdrawn and that someone needed to accept responsibility for the balance. Melissa answered immediately. I am the organizer. I will handle it. My mother looked at her with pride, as though Melissa were rescuing the evening from a crisis I had created. Jordan placed the tablet in front of her and showed her the amount. Melissa hesitated. Then she signed. She had spent the entire evening presenting herself as the host. Now, she had been given the responsibility that came with the title. Her first credit card was declined. She laughed too quickly and said the bank was probably blocking an unusual purchase. She tried a second card. That one was declined too. The room became quiet. My mother asked if Melissa needed help. My father looked toward the hallway and saw me standing near the doors. This did not have to happen, he said. Before I could answer, and my grandfather, Samuel, spoke from the far end of the table. He did not raise his voice. If Claire is not paying the balance, and Melissa cannot pay it, where is the money everyone sent her? My Aunt Linda looked confused. I sent her $450. My cousin Megan put down her wine glass. I sent $300. Then my cousin Aaron said he had sent $375 because Melissa told him the family was sharing the cost of the dinner. My mother slowly turned toward Melissa. You collected money from them. Melissa crossed her arms. It was for the gift and other expenses. Jordan remained beside the table. The flowers, cake, photographer, room, and meal service are included in the contract signed by Claire Bennett. Every face in the room shifted toward me. Melissa stared at Jordan. I was going to reimburse everyone later. My parents eventually used their joint card to pay the balance. Melissa had signed responsibility for it, but she had no available credit to complete the payment. I did not go back inside. I sat alone in my car in the hotel garage with both hands resting on the steering wheel. I did not feel happy that Melissa had been exposed. I did not feel victorious. What hurt was knowing that my mother had defended her inside a room built from my time, my money, and my care. I had lost $2,250. But for the first time in my life, I had not paid more to protect Melissa's image or my parents' comfort. I drove home without returning to the party. That night, I understood that I had not simply removed a credit card from a hotel account. I had stopped volunteering to rescue everyone. 2.5 months earlier, I still believed being useful was the safest way to be loved. On August 4th, 2025, I was promoted to Senior Project Director at Ellison Ward Architects, where I had worked for more than 10 years. The announcement came at the end of a Monday leadership meeting after 3 months of interviews, budget reviews, and project evaluations. My mentor, Rebecca Sloan, waited until everyone else left the conference room. You should look happier, she said. I gathered my notebook and tried to smile. I am happy. That is your client smile. I laughed. But she was right. The promotion meant a larger team, better pay, and control over one of the biggest commercial projects in downtown Nashville. I had earned it through late nights, difficult clients, and more emergencies than I could count. Still, my first thought was not celebration. It was how to tell my family without sounding like I was bragging. At dinner that Sunday, my grandfather Samuel raised his glass. To Claire, he said, "Senior project director before 40. Your grandmother would have been proud." "Thank you." "Grandpa." Melissa leaned back in her chair. "So how much are they paying you now?" My mother frowned. "Melissa." "What?" I am asking the question everyone wants answered. She looked at me and smiled. "Claire can probably afford to buy the whole family now." My father laughed softly. She has always been good with money. Before I could say anything about the project I had spent 2 years completing, my mother turned toward Melissa. "Tell everyone about the charity luncheon you helped with." Melissa immediately began describing centerpieces and guest lists for an event she had worked on for 3 afternoons. Within minutes, my promotion disappeared from the table. That was how it usually worked. When the family needed someone to fix a reservation, review an insurance letter, or cover an unexpected bill, they called me. When they wanted stories, photographs, or someone charming enough to make the family look interesting, they called Melissa. 3 weeks later, my mother said she did not want a large birthday celebration. "I am retired now," she said. "There is no reason to waste money on me." My father suggested hamburgers at their house. Melissa sighed. "I would love to organize something beautiful, but work is insane right now." At the time, I did not know she had recently lost 2 major public relations clients. I only noticed the quick look my father gave her. "I can plan it," I said. My mother shook her head. "You already work too much. It is your first birthday since fully retiring. Let me do something special." The idea became a formal dinner at the Briarwood Hotel in downtown Nashville. The final estimate was just over $10,000. I was not wealthy. The money came from the account I had built to replace the worn flooring and furniture in my living room. I told myself the renovation could wait. My mother only turned 61 once. Rebecca noticed I was staying late again. One evening, she stood at my office door while I compared catering packages on one screen and construction drawings on another. "Please tell me that is not another client project." "My mother's birthday." She glanced at the hotel estimate. "That is a serious birthday." "She retired this year. I want it to be memorable." Rebecca crossed her arms. "Are you giving her a party?" "Or buying another chance to be noticed?" The question irritated me because it felt unfair. "I am not buying anything." "Then promise me one thing." "What?" "Do not give a gift that requires you to disappear from it." I signed the hotel contract on September 12th and paid a $2,250 non-refundable reservation payment. I chose the menu, the flowers, the cake, and a photographer named Olivia Reyes. I asked the hotel not to tell my mother who was paying. I wanted the evening to feel generous, not transactional. Melissa offered to manage family responses. "You are already doing enough," she said. "Let me handle the relatives. You can help with confirmations. But do not tell people you are paying." "Of course not." Her answer came too quickly, but I ignored that. Within days, Melissa asked to receive copies of the schedule. Then she started telling relatives she was organizing a major birthday dinner for our mother. On September 28th, My cousin Megan called me. "The hotel sounds beautiful. I sent Melissa $300 yesterday." I stopped walking in the middle of my kitchen. For what? For our part of the dinner. After the call, I contacted Melissa. "Why is Megan sending you money?" "It is for a group gift." "She said it was for dinner." She misunderstood. "How many people have sent you money?" "Claire, do not turn this into an audit." I told her clearly that no one should be contributing to the hotel bill through her. She accused me of being controlling and promised to handle it. I wanted to believe her. Later, I learned that 6 relatives had sent her a total of $2,675 between September 22nd and October 10th. Melissa used $1,540 to cover minimum credit card payments, a new dress, a salon appointment, and a weekend rental car deposit. At the time, I knew none of that. I only knew my father had started taking Melissa aside after family dinners and speaking to her in low voices when I asked whether something was wrong. He said she was going through a temporary rough patch. The first clear warning came from Olivia, the photographer. She emailed me to ask which photo schedule she should follow. The original version included a portrait of my mother and me, one with both daughters, and one with the person who organized the event. The new version, sent by Melissa, removed me from every smaller photograph. My name appeared only in the full family group. I called her. "Why did you change the photo list?" "Mom gets tired." I shortened it. "You removed only me. You are making this party about yourself." I asked her to restore the original list. She said she would. She did not. The day before the dinner, Jordan from the hotel called to confirm a cake change. The original message was from both daughters. The revised message named Melissa and the family. Jordan confirmed the request had come from Melissa's email. "Put the original wording back," I said. When I told my friend Hannah, she stared at me across the coffee shop table. "Every time Melissa creates a problem, you quietly repair it. I am trying to protect my mother's birthday." "No, you are protecting Melissa from consequences." That night, Melissa sent me a message telling me to arrive on time and not try to control everything. I stood in my bedroom and hung my red dress on the closet door. I still believed one more day of patience could keep the evening peaceful. What I did not know was that Melissa had already sent Jordan a document titled Final Family Tribute Speech and asked him not to share it with me. By the next morning, the family group chat had become a battlefield. Megan wanted Melissa to list every payment she had received. Aaron asked why his money had been described as a contribution to dinner if Claire was paying the hotel. My Aunt Linda insisted the whole thing should have been handled privately. "Your mother cried on her birthday," Linda wrote. No amount of money was worth that. Another cousin replied that I had every right to remove my card. Linda answered almost immediately. Claire could have paid the bill and dealt with Melissa later. I read the messages from my kitchen table while my coffee went cold. They were still discussing what I should have done to make Melissa's choices less painful for everyone else. I typed one response. Anyone who wants to keep rescuing Melissa is free to use their own money and time. I will not keep paying for silence and calling it peace. Then I muted the conversation. My mother called less than an hour later. She did not ask whether I was all right. "Why did you never tell me you were paying for the dinner?" "I wanted it to be a gift." "You could have told me privately." I did not think I needed to prove it until Melissa decided to humiliate me. "Your sister should have been given a chance to explain." I looked through the doorway at the living room I had postponed renovating. Why does Melissa always get another chance? But the first time I stopped protecting her, I become the person who ruined the family. My mother went silent. Finally, she said. I need time to think. Usually, I would have softened my voice. I would have told her I understood. I would have found some way to make the conversation easier for her. This time, I said, take the time you need. Then I ended the call. 3 days later, the receptionist at Ellison Ward Architects called my office. Claire! There is a woman named Melissa Bennett in the lobby. She says she is your sister. I closed my eyes. Please ask her to wait there. Melissa stood beside the reception desk, wearing a cream coat and holding an envelope. Her expression was controlled, but I could see the anger beneath it. She held out a check. It is for $2,250. Take it, and we can end this. I did not touch the envelope. Why did you come to my office? Because you are ignoring me. I asked for written communication. You are telling everyone I stole from them. I have told people to document what they sent you. Melissa glanced toward the receptionist. Can we speak somewhere private? No. You should not have come here. Her jaw tightened. If you cash this check and stop spreading the story, I will handle the rest. You do not only owe me. 6 people sent you money because you told them they were sharing the dinner cost. They offered. You signed the hotel bill. You removed me from the photographs. You changed the cake. You are destroying my reputation over one dinner. I kept my voice low. Your reputation is being threatened by the records you created, not by anything I invented. Rebecca stepped into the lobby before Melissa could answer. She looked from Melissa to me, then addressed my sister. This is a professional workplace. You need to leave. Melissa gave a bitter laugh. Of course Claire has someone here to defend her. Rebecca did not react. You can leave voluntarily, or security can escort you. Melissa placed the check on the reception desk and walked out. I left it where it was, back upstairs. Rebecca closed my office door. You worked more than 10 years to build your name here, she said. Your family does not get to turn your workplace into an extension of their conflict. I know. Knowing is not the same as enforcing it. That afternoon, I emailed Melissa and stated that she was not permitted to visit my office without a legitimate business appointment. I also required all future communication to remain in writing. My grandfather Samuel began collecting the financial records that same week. He asked each relative who had sent money to provide screenshots of the transfers and copies of Melissa's messages. He did not access anyone's bank account or demand private records. He only organized what people voluntarily gave him. The total was $2,675. Melissa still had $1,135. The remaining $1,540 had gone toward credit card payments, a dress, a salon appointment, and a rental car deposit. Samuel did not release the information to the family chat. I want facts, not a public hanging. He told me. I sent him the hotel contract, receipts, and email chain. Olivia provided both versions of the photo schedule with the dates and times Melissa had submitted them. Then Jordan sent me the complete event file because I was the person who had signed the contract. Before I opened it, Samuel called my father. The conversation began quietly. Then my mother's voice rose in the background. Samuel had found repeated transfers from my parents' joint account to Melissa. The total was $8,400 over 9 months. My father admitted he knew she had lost clients. I was helping her through a rough period. He said, My mother sounded stunned. You took that from our account without telling me. I did not want you worrying. Samuel's voice remained calm. Helping without requiring accountability allowed Melissa to appear financially stable when she was not. My father insisted he had not known she was collecting money from relatives. I believed that part. What I could not accept was that he had known she could not afford the party while letting her stand in front of the family and claim she was paying for it. Were you afraid she would be embarrassed? I asked him. Yes. But you watched her embarrass me. He said nothing. I met with a civil attorney named Rachel Kim the following day. She explained that accepting money through misleading statements could support civil claims, but it did not automatically create a criminal case. She should provide an accounting, issue a written correction, and sign a repayment schedule, Rachel said. If she refuses, each person can pursue recovery separately. I do not want her arrested or fired. Then focus on documentation and repayment. But that evening, I opened the event file. Near the bottom was a document titled Final Family Tribute Speech. Melissa had planned to tell the room that I was too consumed by my career to care for our mother. She described herself as the daughter who had always shown up. She had written that some people used money to replace love. She had planned to turn the party I paid for into proof that I was cold, distant, and selfish. I sent the document only to Samuel and Rachel. Then I sat in my unfinished living room, surrounded by worn flooring and furniture I had postponed replacing. Melissa had not simply wanted credit. She needed me to look smaller so she could remain the daughter everyone chose to admire. A week later, my grandfather invited the people directly involved to his home in Franklin. Samuel had arranged the dining room with the same quiet precision he once used for tax records. 3 folders sat in the center of the table. Beside them were a legal pad, a calculator, and a glass pitcher of water. Melissa arrived last. She looked at the folders and gave a sharp laugh. What is this? A trial. Samuel remained standing. No, I am not a judge, and no one here has the authority to punish you. We are here because everyone has been telling a different version of the same events. Tonight, we are going to look at the same facts. My mother sat beside my father. Linda, Megan, and Aaron took the chairs across from them. I sat at the far end of the table. Rachel had helped me prepare reasonable requests, but she was not there. I did not want Melissa claiming that I had brought an attorney to threaten the family. Samuel opened the first folder. This concerns Diane's birthday. He placed the hotel contract on the table, followed by the receipt showing that I had paid the $2,250 reservation fee. Then he added the document Melissa had signed, accepting responsibility for the remaining balance. Melissa crossed her arms. I signed because Claire abandoned everyone. You signed because you had spent the evening presenting yourself as the organizer, Samuel said. He placed the payment records beside the contract. Melissa leaned forward. They chose to send me money. Megan pulled out her phone. You told me everyone was sharing the dinner cost. I said people could contribute. You gave me an amount. Aaron opened a screenshot and slid it across the table. You wrote that each branch of the family was covering part of the event. Melissa looked toward my mother. I was going to pay everyone back. Aaron's voice stayed calm. Then why did the money pay your credit cards and rental car? Melissa's face reddened. I borrowed it temporarily. I was panicking. Samuel looked at her. Why did you not call it borrowing until after the transfers were discovered? She did not answer. He added the cake email and the 2 photography schedules. Melissa shook her head. I was trying to keep the night focused on Mum. Claire had just been promoted, and everything had become about her career. I looked directly at her. How did focusing on Mum require removing me from every private photograph? You wanted everyone to know you were paying. I specifically asked the hotel not to announce it. Melissa looked away. Samuel placed the final document on top of the folder. The title was visible to everyone. Final Family Tribute Speech. Melissa stared at it. That was an emotional draft. I was never going to read it. The file was labeled Final, I said. You sent it to Jordan and asked him not to share it with me. My mother picked up the first page. Her hand began to shake as she read. Melissa had planned to call herself the daughter who always showed up. She had planned to describe me as someone who used money instead of love. My mother placed the page down. Why would you say this about your sister? Melissa's expression broke. Because everything was falling apart. She looked at me. You got promoted. Everyone kept talking about how successful you were. I had lost clients. I was behind on everything. And Dad was helping me hide it. My father lowered his eyes. Melissa pressed both hands against the table. I have always been the daughter Mum was proud to introduce. Then suddenly, Claire had the title, the money, and the perfect life. I felt like I had nothing left. I understood the fear underneath her confession. Understanding it did not erase what she had done. You did not only want to be seen, I said. You needed me to disappear so you could be the person everyone admired. Melissa started crying. I was scared. I believe you. You still took money, erased me from photographs, and prepared a speech to humiliate me. Samuel opened the second folder. It contained 3 earlier examples. In 2014, I had planned my parents' anniversary party, but Melissa had stood before the guests and accepted their gratitude. In 2018, I had taken time away from work to care for my mother after knee surgery. Melissa visited twice, posted photographs, and allowed relatives to believe she had been the primary caregiver. In 2023, I had paid the initial costs for a family vacation. Melissa later described herself as the person who arranged it and helped our parents afford it. My mother whispered that she had not understood the pattern. Samuel opened the third folder. This folder concerns the people who made the pattern possible. My father shifted in his chair. I only wanted peace. I looked at him. Why did peace always require me to pay? Stay quiet and forgive first. Melissa was harder to reason with, so you pressured the daughter who was easier to control. His shoulders dropped. I thought you were strong enough to handle it. That means you knew it hurt me. You simply believed I would tolerate it. He nodded slowly. I was wrong. He admitted that sending Melissa money had allowed her to avoid consequences. He agreed to disclose every transfer to my mother and never use their joint account for Melissa again without her consent. He also agreed to sell a fishing boat he rarely used and replace the money he had taken. Then I turned to my mother. She looked exhausted. I did not know you planned the entire party. You saw emails with my name. You watched me speak to the hotel. You heard Melissa give different explanations. I thought she needed protection. And you thought I did not. You always seemed able to take care of yourself. The pain in her voice did not make the words hurt less. My ability to survive pain did not give you permission to keep causing it. My mother began to cry. I did not move toward her. She looked down at her hands. when the family needed something fixed. I called you. When I wanted to talk proudly about my daughters, I talked about Melissa. The room became completely silent. I used your strength as an excuse to protect you less, she said. That admission mattered. It was not forgiveness. It was only the first honest sentence she had given me. Samuel reviewed the conditions we had prepared. Melissa would send a written correction to everyone who had transferred money. She would confirm that I had signed the contract and funded the event. She would repay the $2,675 over 4 months. She would no longer collect money or represent herself as the organizer of family events. Any future contributions would go directly to vendors. She would not come to my workplace. For the time being, communication between us would remain in writing. My parents agreed to begin counseling if they wanted to rebuild a relationship with me. Linda agreed to stop asking me to keep problems private simply because the truth made other people uncomfortable. Melissa wiped her face. If I repay everyone and go to therapy, can we eventually go back to normal? I stood and picked up my purse. Normal is what brought us here. I do not want it back. She stared at me. I might consider a new relationship someday, but only if it is built through actions. I did not hug her. I did not hug my mother. I did not promise anyone forgiveness. On the drive back to Nashville, I realized I had no idea whether my family would truly change. For the first time, their change was not a condition for my peace. I went home, turned off my phone, and slept through the night without trying to manage anyone else's feelings. The next morning, Melissa posted an apology in the family group chat. She said she was sorry if anyone had felt hurt and that stress had caused her to make poor decisions. My grandfather responded before anyone else. That is not an apology. State what you did, who was affected, and how you intend to repair it. Melissa called me less than 10 minutes later. Grandpa is humiliating me. No, I said. He is asking you to stop hiding behind vague language. I was under financial pressure. I had lost clients. I felt like a failure. I believe all of that. Then why are you treating me like a criminal? Because struggling did not give you permission to take money, erase me from the event, or turn my gift into evidence that I did not love Mom. She ended the call. 2 days later, Melissa sent a second message. This time, she admitted that I had signed the hotel contract, paid the reservation fee, and organized the dinner. She acknowledged collecting $2,675 from 6 relatives without clearly explaining how the money would be used. She also admitted spending part of it on personal expenses. It was not graceful, but it was accurate. That mattered more. Melissa sold several designer handbags, cancelled a planned weekend rental car, and reduced her spending. When she asked my father for another loan, he refused. She called him selfish. You helped me before, she said. Now you are abandoning me when I need you most. My father did not change his answer. Helping you without limits taught you that someone else would always absorb the consequences. I will not do that again. By the end of February, Melissa had repaid all $2,675 to the relatives who had sent it. I did not collect the money for them or manage the repayment schedule. Each person received payment directly. Only after those debts were completed did Melissa begin repaying the $2,250 I had lost at the hotel. There were no arrests and no dramatic courtroom scenes. Rachel had been right. Documentation, repayment, and enforceable boundaries were enough. Melissa also lost something she valued more than money: She no longer controlled the family's version of events. No one sent contributions to her account. Future gatherings were handled through direct payments to restaurants, caterers, and vendors. Melissa was no longer allowed to call herself the organizer unless she had actually organized and funded the event. I never posted the records online. I never contacted her clients. I did not interfere with her career. I did not need to destroy her life. I only stopped protecting the story she had built at my expense. Linda remained convinced that I had been too harsh until Melissa asked her to advance money for a family cookout. "You own a store," Melissa told her. "You can afford to cover it until everyone pays you back." Linda refused. A week later, "She called me." "I understand now," she said. "I asked you to stay quiet because I had never been the person expected to pay." "Thank you for saying that." "I should have said it sooner." My parents began counseling. Their progress was uneven. My mother still sometimes started to defend Melissa, then caught herself. One afternoon, she sent me a written apology. She admitted that she had believed Melissa without asking me questions. She acknowledged that she had allowed me to be humiliated during an event I had planned and funded. She wrote that she had used my independence as an excuse to care less about my emotional needs. My father apologized for choosing comfort over fairness. He admitted that he had pressured me because I was easier to reason with. He sold his fishing boat and returned the money he had taken from the joint account. Neither of them asked me to forgive them immediately. That restraint was new. At a small family dinner in January, my mother told everyone that I had organized and funded her birthday celebration. Melissa shifted in her chair. People misunderstood my intentions. My mother looked at her. Intentions do not erase actions. It was the first time I watched my mother stop Melissa from rewriting the truth. I did not suddenly trust her again. But I noticed. I also changed. I stopped organizing every holiday. I stopped paying in advance. I refused to mediate arguments between Melissa and my parents. I no longer explained my boundaries to people who only wanted me to change them. At Ellison Ward Architects, I completed the downtown project that had consumed nearly 2 years of my life. Rebecca handed me the leadership file for a major new commercial development. "You earned this," she said. For once, I let myself enjoy hearing it. I took vacation days instead of working extra hours to rebuild the money I had lost. Hannah helped me create a new budget. And by spring, I finally renovated my living room. The worn flooring disappeared. I chose furniture because I liked it, not because it was practical for hosting family emergencies. The room became proof that my life was no longer the first thing sacrificed when someone else created a crisis. Melissa started therapy. She did not become a completely different person. She still looked uncomfortable when my mother praised my work. She still tried to soften parts of the story when she felt ashamed. But sometimes she stopped herself. I could acknowledge that progress without restoring trust. We did not speak often. We did not share money or private information. I was not ready to forgive her completely. And I no longer believed forgiveness was something anyone could demand on a schedule. In May, we gathered at Samuel's house for a small dinner. There was no hotel and no single person paying for everyone. Aaron brought barbecue. Megan brought salad. Linda brought cake. My parents brought drinks. Melissa brought the chicken casserole I had loved as a child. The evening was not perfect. There were careful pauses and moments when everyone seemed afraid of saying the wrong thing. I realized awkwardness was not failure. We were learning how to sit together without expecting me to fill every silence or solve every discomfort. When the dishes moved around the table, My plate was still empty. Melissa held the casserole. 6 months earlier, she had told me not to take too much food because I had not paid for dinner. This time, she placed the dish in front of me. "You take some first," she said. It was not a perfect apology. It did not erase what happened. It was only a small sign that she was beginning to understand she had never possessed the right to decide how much I deserved. I served myself, not because Melissa gave me permission. I did it because no one at that table could make me believe I had to pay, work, or remain silent to earn my place in my own family. Real revenge was never about making Melissa lose everything. It was about refusing to use my money, competence, and silence to protect other people from their choices. I did not destroy my family when I removed my card. I simply stopped financing a system that required me to suffer so everyone else could feel comfortable. If someone humiliated you at a dinner, you were secretly paying for. Would you finish paying to keep the peace? Or would you walk away, as I did? And can you recognize that someone is changing while still deciding that you are not ready to forgive them? Share what you would have done. And stay with the channel for more stories about boundaries. Betrayal! And the moment karma finally arrives.